Hey guys, Cola here, and I am definitely not stuffing women into the minds because of their radical beliefs in such things like the gender pay gap. So, episode 7, we're now in the end game. The home stretch, you might say. It has been a rocky, decent? No, not even. It's been a ride. It's definitely been a ride so far. Some good, some bad, a lot of bad actually, but the last video did see an upturn in quality. Hopefully, this will continue up until the finale. Let's find out. If you enjoy my crippling addiction to bad shows and movies, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And spoilers for anyone who cares. In the last episode, the town found out that yet another woman is a serial killer, proving the thesis that women are indeed the cause of any problems, according to new Sheriff Merle. But Merle has a five-headed idea that might just root out the murderer. Throw all of the Crystal Cove women into the Crystal Cove mines. You know, out of sight, out of mind. But seriously, this isn't such a bad idea if you don't mind sacrificing a couple women to find the killer. In fact, Merle has this all figured out. He even knows not to tempt the woke mob.
Where do we go if we don't identify as female or male?
Already thought of that. I respect all gender identities and I don't want to get yelled at on social media. So I am paying for you and yours to skip town for a couple of days.
So remember how Daphne's brain was kidnapped last episode by cockroaches? Well, they still haven't found her brain, so her body is now just lying there lifeless. I wonder how long it will take for her body to start to rot. It turns out her brain is a lot closer than we think. It's literally in the walls, where the cockroaches worship her like a god, and they accidentally turn off her life support. Well, guess that's the end of Daphne the Wooden Plank. Back with Velma now, we find out that there is apparently beef with Dia and... wait, what's her name again? Armand's new baby mama, the waitress. Sophie? I think her name is Sophie. Yeah, so Dia and Sophie have beef because Dia is angry that after she got kidnapped, Sophie basically took over her home. And Sophie is angry because Dia doesn't have a job.
Door is open. Oh, you installed an alarm. Afraid someone will wreck your home while you're out?
It's so nice you're able to drop off Velma. Still no job?
Velma tries to get the cop moms to help, but they realize that they have a fatal character flaw. They're incompetent. So the women are all forced into the mines, leaving the men to... actually, wait, what are they going to be doing this episode? Norville wants to get to the bottom of what is causing his hallucinations, and he figures out that it's Fred. Fred is always around whenever Norville gets a hallucination. Just the mere sight of him can set him off, even though he was nowhere to be seen the last time Norville had one.
I think I hallucinate because I'm the only one who can tell you the truth. My grandma couldn't have possessed your mom because my grandma is still alive.
Fred is still in denial that his mother wasn't possessed before storming off, therefore scrapping any character development from episode 4. Meanwhile, the mines look kinda nice this time of year. But seriously, why does it look this good? They just moved in. I guess this goes to show how productive women really are. I know if it was me, there'll still be boxes with all my stuff littered everywhere. Velma meets Sophie's friends, and you can tell these are Sophie's friends because they also have those baby Babble boxes we saw Sophie's babies use in one of those many filler episodes.
Mommy loves wine more than me.
Is that supposed to be a joke? Because they're laughing like it's a joke. The only joke I see is Velma talking to Gigi as if she's an important character. Silly Velma. Don't you know she has no voice lines and is basically a glorified cameo now? We cut to Daphne. Oh, she's still alive? Guess we have to cut the party short. Daphne may be alive, but she is trapped in her own subconscious and can't escape until she figures out who she is, or, you know, someone finds her brain and puts it back in her body. Her subconscious parents are also here and tell Daphne the harsh truth.
Didn't put your brain in a jar to figure out if you're popular or a witch. You want to know if you're a good person or a bad person.
Velma is caught in some drama between Sophie and Dia because she talks to Sophie about her problems instead of Dia, her actual mother. But we don't care about any of that. We care about how are they going to figure out who the serial killing woman is. And Velma's big idea is to get her mom to discreetly ask the wives of the murder victims about their partners. Maybe she can find a connection between them. Velma can't ask herself because the killer might catch on, but if Dia does it through small talk, they shouldn't notice. Meanwhile, it turns out the guys have been trying to figure out who the serial killer is from Fred's phone call, and failing terribly.
I got it! I know who it is! The guy sitting next to me looks like James Marsden.
Of course! yours. Now, any thoughts on the serial killer's identity?
Norville shows up to try and again convince Fred that his grandmother is really alive, but with no proof, Fred ain't buying it. So Merle, instead of working to figure out who the killer is, decides that holding a chili cook-off to figure out if this guy's grandmother is really alive is a good use of time. Nice to see that this town has elected a worthy protector. The chili cook-off was a waste of time anyway, since Norville just drugged everyone with his dad's sleeping pills and kidnapped Fred, leaving everyone else to the sweet delight of the killer. All these men ripe for the killing. We cut back to Velma and her mom trying to get some information about the murdered victims. Very subtly, may I add. But we do learn one thing. All the victims were not great people, but I don't think they were bad enough to warrant being murdered. The coroners were mean and slightly sexist. The priest pushed a baptism back a week because of a work thing. I mean, the way these women are talking, you'd think these guys started World War III or subscribed to Pokemon.
They will not be missed.
Well, neither will Father O'Rourke. He pushed Sammy's baptism a whole week because of some work thing. Maybe we should have elected the serial killer sheriff. She's taking out the trash in this town.
Yeah!
Dia gets a little triggered since the others are making jokes about a serial killer, and since she's been actually kidnapped by a serial killer before, this hits a little too close to home. Sophie backs her up, and this surprisingly sparks a bond between the two. Well, that and shitting on Velma.
She always does that. Velma, unload the dishwasher. I'm investigating.
Velma, brush your hair.
I'm investigating.
Ugh, it was better when you hated each other.
We cut back to Daphne and find out that Daphne is actually just the worst.
Velma does have a lot to learn.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we should teach her a lesson.
Are you sure?
Stop doubting me. That's Velma's thing.
Daphne cheated on Velma. I know I didn't like her before, but that was mainly because she was a wooden plank with no personality. This is outright character assassination, though I guess you need to be a character first. She even blames Velma for all her wrongdoings and refuses to take any accountability. So I guess that means she found her answer. She's a bad person. Back in the mines, the serial killer has made their presence known.
I'm watching you.
Who said that? It's the serial killer.
Oh God, where's Amanda?
The serial killer. Run away. Oh!
So Amanda, Sophie's daughter, is seemingly stuck on a cliff edge, and the cop moms only told people to run away not because they're scared and incompetent, but because they wanted to get their taser to do an impossible stunt to save a baby they didn't even know was on a cliff edge. That makes perfect sense. It turns out the killer was never there at all. It was just Amanda changing the voice setting on the baby babble box she has been using and uses it for a prank.
No, killer, just me pretending, but I slipped.
Why? And how?
I thought funny.
Jeez, these prank YouTubers are starting from early, but seriously, this is a major breakthrough. This means the killer could be anyone, even a guy. All of a sudden, my theory that Mr. S is the killer doesn't sound too bad now, huh? Check out my last video to see what I mean. But Velma realizes that women are hella observant, so they would all collectively know who the killer is, even if they don't realize it. Gigi's mom says that her husband, the army guy from last episode, brought the babble boxes home with him from work. On the side of the box was Project Scooby. One of the moms took their kid to Mr. S's house when he was still alive for tutoring, and he mentioned Project Scooby on a phone call. It turns out that all the victims were aware of Project Scooby in one way or another, and all had a meeting with a lawyer, and that lawyer being Velma's dad. Okay, this might be the best part of the entire show, because it is the closest I have felt to actually watching something that represents the Scooby-Doo franchise. So Aman is now a person of interest and public enemy number one. This probably explains why he was feeling so much guilt and anger between him and Don, and believes that he owes him. He got tangled up in some really weird shit. The episode ends with Daphne getting her body back and not learning any lessons this episode because she doesn't tell Velma what she did. I can't wait to see how this blows up in her face in the future. And Fred finally sees Norville's grandmother in the flesh, forcing him to realize his mother wasn't possessed by a ghost and was indeed just a terrible person, helping Norville to move on as well. All's well that ends well, except for the fact that his hallucination is still hanging around like a ghost. What? in all, this episode was not bad. The first half was kind of a slogfest, but the last 5 minutes were actually decent like I stated earlier. I rate this episode a 6 out of 10. Not as good as episode 6, but that's because I feel like I enjoyed that episode more as a whole. So many things didn't make any sense in this episode. Like, how did Amanda get herself from the swings to a cliff edge, I mean not even a cliff edge, below a cliff edge above the gaping abyss without anyone noticing? How is Norville's hallucinations acting independently of him? Is she really a ghost? And what the hell was even any of this? But we did learn some vital information that connects all the victims together, but I still can't pin down a motive. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think it was a good episode or not? Thanks for watching the video and I hope you enjoyed. Cola out.